Hi, folks. I'm Amy Carrier, and it's lunchtime. Everybody always likes to eat and listen and talk and listen and eat. It's great. So I'm going to sit down because I have multiple things going on here. And I'm going to be, as Ted said, I'm going to be inviting two very special guests up here on stage with me. And I just want to make sure I have dueling mics. I almost feel like I need to whip them out. So am I all set with these? Okay, great. Thank you. So as Ted said, I really work in that space of helping our schools to build partnerships to deliver 21st century skills to our students. And obviously that's just a really huge umbrella idea. And the way I do it is by building partnerships with local businesses, local universities. We're going to talk a lot about business today, but that includes all of the local agencies, universities, hospitals in the community of a school. So this presentation today is called Differentiation for Real Life, because it's my belief that all students, before they graduate from high school, need access to 21st century skills, learning opportunities, before they head out into real life. So I've got a fancy Prezi for you here to keep your attention while you're eating. And as we're talking about building these differentiated opportunities for students, I want you to think about this kind of big map that starts where students grow up in their hometowns and gets them somehow along this path to the world of work. So in a child's community, they're growing up and they're going to school. That is their job. So let's take a look at childhood. A child's job is to go to school, have fun, do homework, get good grades, graduate, and then what? And I think the most important thing for us to remember while I'm talking about this is that every single one of us in this school was at that place in 11th grade where we weren't really sure. We just knew we had to apply for colleges. We had to think about majors to help us think about colleges. And we had to have some sense of what we wanted to do when we grew up. And the reality is, if you're like me, you probably had no clue. So somehow we want our children to be able to get here from childhood all the way up here to adulthood and the world of work. But when we send our children out into the world without preparing them, they are apt to fail. I don't know about you, but I made lots of mistakes. I don't even want to talk about my credit score when I was in my very early 20s because I fell into that trap of sign up for the credit card on campus. So we really need to answer for our students these questions of how do I get there? Help them figure out what it is that they have to offer. Help them know who's going to answer their questions when they stumble, when they make mistakes. So it's our job to build bridges to students' futures. And when I'm talking about building bridges, I'm talking about building relationships, building opportunities for students to try on some of the things they might be interested in. And we do this by teaching our students lessons, 21st century skills, curriculum lessons, giving them experience and conversation about work and life skills, getting them into the workplace so that they can practice hands-on learning, work-based skills in the workplace so that it's not just theoretical, and so that they can build professional networks with adults. All of this makes sense, right? You know, it makes sense. Everybody should have this particular set of skills in order to figure out the game of life. So students need to know things like financial literacy, business skills, entrepreneurship. They need to have developed communication skills that are appropriate for the world of work. We need to help them with decision-making, professionalism, planning for the future, and a whole host of other skills. So the question is, how do we do this? And it's been my experience for my 14 years in education that we can do this effectively by building partnerships with businesses, with the existing resources. I've worked with schools, school districts, and state departments of ed all across the country. I built a nonprofit in Boston in 2003, and I developed a program to teach this particular type of curriculum to high school students. And I taught it for 6 years here in Boston. And when we give our students the opportunity to engage in programs in schools that give them workplace internships, help them get exposed to cutting-edge curriculum that really is talking about what's happening in industry right now, and that's tapped into what's actually happening in the business world, then we're preparing our students for the economy as it exists and hopefully the future economy and future jobs. So the goal is to get our students here, this world of adulthood and this world of work. And getting our kids out of our school buildings and into local businesses through their internships, through partner visits, gives students the opportunity to feel that what they're learning is real, is relevant to them and what they're interested in, is hands-on, and is relatable. Because ultimately, kids all have this question: when am I ever going to use this in real life? And they really deserve to have an answer to that question. We need to be better at providing them those answers. And those answers come from these differentiated learning opportunities through internships and opportunities to build relationships with mentors so that we can get them here. Imagine a child in an internship in 11th or 12th grade. And that child is saying something like this: I'm so glad we learned budgeting in school because my internship supervisor just asked me to make a budget for the project I'm working on, and oh my God, isn't this going to look great in my final portfolio? That's the connection that we want our students to make, and I've seen it hundreds of times. Your path was different from mine. Your path was different from every other person in this room. If you sat down and thought about and wrote out how you got to where you are, a lot of it might have been mistakes, a lot of it might have been some serendipity, some might have been luck, some might have been super hard work. The reality is we need to teach our kids that that's how we get to the future and give them the opportunity to try it themselves. And when they have their relationships with mentors, their individualized internships, and when they have the opportunity to reflect on what happens outside of the school safely back in the school, our students are learning. It's a win-win for everybody. And it's really important to remember that we are preparing students for life. And they're going to have to enter into an economy that may or may not look like what it looks like today, this year, next year. And we need to connect better with industry. What is it that our local universities need for professors? What do our hospitals need more of? Students need to know this. We need the opportunity to give businesses, we need to give our businesses the opportunity to send their employees in to work with our students. And I have seen that this really improves employee retention. They feel like they're part of something that matters. They're part of a larger community. And most importantly, young people suddenly start to feel relevant to the community that they live in. So what I'm talking about here is building bridges for our students to their futures. And doing this is an investment in workforce, in community, in economy and society, and most importantly, in every child's future. So let's start building bridges today. So I'm going to invite up now two very special guests. And these two ladies are going to bring the perspective of being on either side of those bridges that I'm talking about building. I have a very dynamic leader from education and a very dynamic leader from the corporate space working in corporate citizenship. And I think you may have heard of both of these women. They're phenomenal, and I'm very excited to bring them up on stage. So Maura Banta and Sheila Harrity, would you come up and join me? Hi, ladies.
Good afternoon.
How are you? How was lunch?
We're great. Lunch was wonderful.
Good.
I could come here every day.
Well, they'll probably have it again. So I would love for the two of you to just start by introducing yourselves, and so that we can start having a larger conversation about why you're here to talk about this.
Would you like me to start?
I would love you to start, Maura.
Okay, so I'm Maura Banta from the IBM company, and I'm a lifer there, which means 21 years old I started and I've never left. I've had a couple of different careers there in technology and in marketing, but fortunately for the last 20 years I've been in the citizenship part of IBM, which is really, think of it as philanthropy. Our focus has always been K-12 education, and over the span of my career, even when I was in the marketing and consulting jobs, I was always volunteering in the Boston Public Schools, or I was on the board of the Boston Plan, and ultimately the Mass Business Alliance for Education. I guess you'd call me a policy junkie, and I was fortunate to meet all kinds of people who enabled me to be involved in your world. And so I've been volunteering in that space for a long time. The last two big jobs, I chaired the Mass Board of Elementary and Secondary Education from 2008 until just recently, and I just joined the Board of Higher Education. So thank you for having me here today.
Thank you. Yeah. Sheila?
Well, my name is Sheila Harrity, and I'm the proud principal of Worcester Technical High School. Worcester Tech, a little bit about our school and our community. Worcester Tech was one of the oldest vocational schools in our country, and in the 1990s they were actually going to close our school for antiquated facilities. NISCE had put our school on probation, and the business and higher ed partners really rallied around the importance of career and technical education, and talked the community into applying for a new school. We got state funding, a 90-10 match to open a brand new $90 million facility. And fortunately for me, at the time, the principal that was there retired and decided not to open the new school. At the time, it was the lowest performing high school in our city and the lowest performing vocational school in our state. But for me, I thought it was an educator's dream that our school and our community rallied around the infrastructure of the importance of CTE and built a beautiful facility, and now we have the tools of our trade to become very successful. And I'm really proud to say we've improved our MCAS scores 240% in English language arts and 140% in mathematics. We have a 95% graduation rate, and last year we became a U.S. Department of Ed Blue Ribbon School. There's 286 schools across the country that are given that incredible distinction, and we were one of them. And last year, President Obama came to our high school's graduation and was our commencement speaker. He selected one high school in the entire country to speak to the graduates, and he selected our school. So it's an incredible story of 8 short years, how quickly you can turn around a school with some wonderful business partners. We're led with 350 business and higher ed partners, and a community that really is supporting our students.
That's wonderful. We have to give her a round of applause. And you certainly set the bar, because I know some education leaders who really want to shoot for the opportunity to have the president give their commencement speech. Great job. So Sheila obviously works in the voc tech space, and I really wanted Sheila to come and talk about partnerships, partly because she's so good at them, her school is so good at them, but also because we have kind of an unspoken separation between voc tech and traditional K-12. We think, well, voc tech can do that, but traditional K-12, there's really no space for that. And that's not true. Right now, I'm working with Framingham Public Schools to develop a system to leverage partnerships located in Framingham to deliver these types of skills. It's a matter of really doing the work to think outside of the box and get some leaders who are willing to kind of drive a wedge in and think differently so that we can deliver these opportunities to our students. Now, that said, it definitely takes a whole village to do this. And part of what I've seen is that businesses and schools speak two different languages. You're talking about two very different cultures, two very different ecosystems. So they have very different expectations about what should happen. And in fact, I've heard complaints from both sides. Things like partners lack staying power, or schools don't communicate, or the partnership just never got off the ground. So I'd really like you ladies to talk about how you think the village can help to build partnerships that are lasting, that have impact, and that can really change the culture of a school to provide more opportunities like the students at Worcester Tech get and the other schools that develop these types of programs. Sheila, would you start talking about that?
Sure. As I had mentioned, we have 350 business partners and higher ed leaders that are assisting us in regards to really helping us keep the finger on the pulse of what is expected of our graduates. In education, we cannot educate our students in silos, that we're doing something in education and then expecting our students then to be able to connect to the world of work. So we ask them, what are the things that business and industry are looking from our graduates so that we can assist in the successful transition if the students are deciding to go directly into the world of work or to higher education and then to the world of work. So anything that we can embed in our curriculum is so important. You know, as an educator, I really feel that you get a bang for your buck when it's a two-way street, so that there's a give and take and not always a handout. So for instance, in all our technical programs, we have embedded as many industry recognized credentials that we can, so that when our students are graduating, they actually have a leg up on someone else that's going for the job. For instance, if I was in allied health, we've embedded the CNA, home health aid, CPR, first aid, and EMT certification into our allied health program, so that our students are graduating with not only college credits, but also industry recognized credentials. If I'm a student in telecommunications or information systems, we, once the students go through the curriculum, they're afforded the opportunity to take the Cisco Academy certifications with computers, repair, networking, and securities and so forth. In addition, we have partnered with Northeastern University to have our students be part of the Blackboard experience, and they're taking courses online at Northeastern University and earning 18 college credits free of charge while they're taking their high school experience. So we continue to try to partner in so many ways, and in education, I mean, we're from the city. Worcester doesn't have a boatload of money, so it's always thinking about thinking outside the box and not letting money be the issue. And for us, I thought a really unique opportunity came our way, and it actually grew from the students' interests. In allied health, some of our students wanted to expand into the veterinary science programs. So we partnered with Tufts University and put a mass life science grant together. And there's so many various grants out there that you can look, whatever your school's vision or where you'd like to go with a certain program, there's monies out there to support you. So we applied for the life science grant, received it, and we found a private sector donor that would buy some of the equipment, and the grant bought a lot of the technology. Our construction students actually built an animal clinic on site at our school called Tufts Tech. Our veterinary students, our allied health kids that wanted to get into veterinary sciences, we actually had a clinic built there where the Tufts University pays for their veterinary doctor to come in, and they cycle through their residents as well at the clinic. Our students are now working alongside of the Tufts veterinary doctor, and the clinic is open to actually families that qualify for food stamps or live in our housing authority, because otherwise they really wouldn't be able to afford proper animal care for their family pet. Mm-hmm. So, and they only have to pay 25% of the cost. And I saw Amy's slide when she said win-win. Well, this is certainly a win-win-win at Worcester Tech. It's a win for Tufts because now they can cycle through their residents. It's a win for us because now our students are exposed to a veterinary doctor career, a vet tech, national recognized credentials, and at the same time get the experience of working with real live animals, and a win for our community because they get their medical care for their animals at a very significant lower cost. But it came from a great idea stemming from the students, and at Worcester Tech there's certainly that motto, there's a will, there's a way, and we don't let money be the issue. We go after certain grants and then make sure they line up with our vision, and then make it happen.
Great. So, Maura, what are the businesses thinking about partnering with schools?
Well, I'll answer that in 1 second. But
sure.
Before I do that, I just want to, many of you may know Sheila, but I just want to say just a couple words of how lucky I've been to work with her in the past. probably most notably on the state task force or college and career readiness, where Sheila was the E.F. Hutton. When she would talk, everyone would stop and actually listen. And there were no slugs in the room. It was Secretary Rebel, Commissioner Chester, Commissioner Friedland, CEOs from major companies, healthcare, IT, manufacturing, advanced manufacturing. And so, and guidance counselors, educators, you name it, but people really wanted to hear from someone who would seize the moment and create a new program and somehow do it in your life of limited resources. So back to IBM for a minute. I've been around so long that I've seen the waxing and waning of school partnerships. Back in my early days at a high school in Boston, it was very exciting to go in there with mentors and tutors and buses and come to IBM and I'll pay for the lunch and I'll pay for the AP exams. And then it became too much interference for the school, and they basically said, Maura, we love you, but how about you just send a check and pay for a few things? And,
Right.
and so, and that was, so it coincided with our footprint shrinking in Boston, so it wasn't all on the school side. It was actually, and we can talk later about sort of, how you move forward from when it gets messy in the middle in the partnerships. But it started back then, 35 years ago, to where I am presently heading up our education citizenship work around the world. And one of my responsibilities is a very discrete new kind of partnership we have now in 4 schools, but we're trying to help other companies in many states to replicate it. It's called PTech, stands for Pathways in Technology, Early College, High School. It's basically a 9 through 14 model where students are both in high school and college in the 9th grade. Through the course of 6 years, and maybe only in 4, they will get a high school degree as well as an AAS degree. The first school opened in Brooklyn. What's different about these schools, and any company that agrees to replicate it, is that every student has a mentor from the company, every student. Students are offered internships at the end of their 3rd year at IBM or one of our business partners. Students who graduate with an AAS in either electromechanical engineering or computer information systems are first in line for jobs at IBM. Did we wake up and do this philanthropically? No. We had a problem where we had all those middle skill jobs that you know about that we couldn't fill. We had PhDs applying for jobs where they were overqualified and high school graduates who were underqualified. So it was very much in our own self-interest to help start this. We are just the business liaison, but in that role, I have a person in that school full-time who's part of my team to make sure that we translate between EduSpeak and business speak. We help develop the work-based learning curriculum. We did the backward skills mapping to say if you're going to get a job at IBM and it's going to be in IT, this is what you have to learn. These are the college courses you have to take, and we did the scope and sequence work along with the colleges. So again, time permitting, I can talk about how that's grown both in the state of New York, in the state of Illinois, and that I really would like to talk, and I don't want to dominate the conversation here, but I want to talk about what we're doing in Massachusetts. I suspect many of you know of the Pathways Initiative, and I'm very excited in my new role in higher ed to see if I can help enable that more quickly.
Yeah, and I think that model that kind of helps to address that gap between high school and college or high school and career is so important. And I like that there are these new programs that are happening, and IBM is starting to put them out there. I know some of the hospitals in Boston have their own pathway initiatives, and it's a start. But some of the things that I've seen along the way is where these businesses come up with these solutions to the problem that they see of not being able to fill positions in their organizations, but then they have a hard time working with the schools. They don't know how to go into the schools. And I've seen this in my work for a very long time, that there's great intention on the side of both the partner and the school, and the first meeting feels really good, and then it just kind of starts to fall apart. And I think that there are a number of challenges, and rather than focusing on the challenges, I'd like for you ladies to help us kind of talk about what is it that, your perspective, IBM, what do you need schools to do? What do you need the educators and the administrators to do to make it more efficient and more possible for you to actually build a lasting partnership, not just a one-off, not not just a feel-good kind of after school.
Do you want me to start? I'll take
Yes.
the first crack. This is the expert here. But from the IBM standpoint, I think the most important thing is trust. So you're absolutely right. Everything starts off on this, isn't this a wonderful vision? And yes, the governor, the mayor, everyone's behind it. But when you think of these partnerships, they're a three-legged stool. You have the industry partner, you have the K-12 system, and the higher ed system, at least in our case, because there's a degree at the end of the program. And everybody has to give to get. So everyone gets into this and thinks it's all going to be fine, but then the food fight begins. Who's licensed to teach where? Who gets paid for what? Right. Sometimes schools think that, industry has an open checkbook, and sometimes industry thinks that schools should be able to do what they think when they've actually never walked in the shoes of a school administrator or a teacher, for that matter. So you're right that trust is really important. The second thing we need is to be able to, to sort of say stop, to have a steering committee meeting and to say, okay, we're off the rails here a little bit. The client here is the student and the student success. So what are we going to do to get the train back on the tracks? If you ask me one thing we need from schools, it's absolutely to be honest with us and not sort of say, well, in the interest of keeping the partnership alive, I'll pretend it's okay. We're not looking for grouses, but we are looking for honesty, because without that, we don't know how to properly position ourselves to be helpful in your space, and that's the intention.
Right. Yeah.
Well said.
Yes. Yes.
For us, it's all about relationships and establishing, like you had mentioned, the trust factor. And then when you say you're going to do something, do it, and then follow up on it. I've been in several meetings where on our side, we thought we were going to the next level, and then it just kind of fizzled. And sometimes that happens, but you can't get discouraged because the benefits certainly outweigh the risks. We have a couple of business partners I'd like to highlight, as well as a higher ed institution. We partnered with Worcester Credit Union. So in the building phase of Worcester Technical High School, we actually talked the president of Worcester Credit Union to build a full-service bank on our main street in our school. And we did that because they needed bank tellers. So this is a perfect example and a prime time to align our business curriculum with the Worcester Credit Union. And we did so, and at this time we've already trained 80 bank tellers since we've opened the school that are working the line for their 4 branches and other banks as well. When our students go off to college, it's a great part-time job and a summer opportunity as well. And we also aligned the Worcester Credit Union training curriculum with Quinsigamond Community College. So now the students are earning 6 college credits in their business associate's degree that will assist them and support them in their transition to college as well. Another example I would use is with National Grid. We walked before we ran. We met with Marcy Reed, the president and CEO of National Grid, and said, okay, we have just become a STEM early career and college innovation school. We'd like to partner with you. We convinced her that it would be great if we could take their lineman curriculum and embed it into our electrical department. We did that, and now National Grid is hiring our students directly out of high school. They're already trained in their curriculum, almost like the Germany model, that there's a purpose and there's a workforce pipeline at the end of the education. We then said to Ms. Reed, okay, but some of our students also want to go on to college. National Grid has a STEM pipeline. So right now, they have identified 4 of our students from the electrical program. As long as our students committed to going to college, a 4-year institution, majoring in a STEM, science, technology, engineering, or math major, they would support the students through a mentoring program and part-time employment, with guaranteed when they graduated from their undergrad degree, there'd be a 6-figure salary waiting for them from National Grid. And 4 of our students are actually in their pipeline. And I didn't mention that 65% of our students qualify for free reduced lunch. Education and training are power. And through this effort and many efforts that we have at the school, we truly are breaking the cycle of poverty in our community and empowering our community to take our city to the next level. Another partnership that can happen anywhere is with your community college. I had read in the paper that Quincy was busting at its seams and needed additional classroom space. We wanted to offer foreign language to our students, but we couldn't fit it into our schedule. It's 120 hours for Carnegie unit for high school credit, but it's 45 hours for college credit. So I called Dr. Carberry, and again, it's all about relationships, and I said, Gail, how about this? I know you're busting at the seams. We're already open at night for the apprenticeship and journeyman and adult education and retraining. How about we give you classroom space, but in exchange, can you send your Spanish instructor, teach our kids free of charge, 6 college credits, Spanish 1 and 2. Perfect. We don't have money. They didn't either. Nice exchange back and forth to each other. Walk before you run. So now it's successful. It works out really well. I called her again. I said, Gail, our students in Allied Health really would like to have the EMT certification. I know you're busting at the seams. Did the same thing, 7 college credits. She sends her instructor down during the day, certifies our kids as EMT, 7 college free of charge, and then in exchange, they run their Allied Health program at night for their adults. That went great, so now we find that 70% of our kids are falling into their remedial coursework, unfortunately, when they take the AccuPlacer. Well, we've got to get ahead of that. You know, a lot of high school principals say, well, I'm responsible just for the high school curriculum and the high school credits. I don't believe that. We say that we're graduating our students career and college ready, so we offer and test our kids in the AccuPlacer. And if they fall in the 090, 095, 099, which is all remedial courses, that our students upon graduation would actually have to pay for those credits, but they don't go towards their associate's degree, we embedded it into their math curriculum for seniors. So they take their 0900, 095, or 099, and here's the carrot. When you test out and you're in Math 100, we offer Math 100, and you guessed it, free of charge, 3 college credits before they graduate from Worcester Tech.
That's great. I just want to add, I was with Marcy Reed at a roundtable meeting recently, and she was bragging all about this partnership. I'm not sure she gave you as much credit. I'm going to call her up and tell her.
Yeah, and I think what Sheila's saying, walk before you run, is really important. Right now, what I'm working on with my newest project, we're looking at this scaling up to reach all high school students over 5 years. So there's no way that we can just open our doors, and I'm saying this because I really hope that everyone here today leaves and goes back to their school, back to their community, and tries to figure out how can we start to do something like this. Even if it's how can we get 12 of our 11th graders out of the school for a 10-hour internship. Even if that's all you can do, that's starting somewhere. You're going to find your business partner, and it's starting the momentum that needs to happen in all schools. And there are a lot of things that need to be in place, and what we're really talking about, what I'm talking about, I think what we're all talking about up here, is building a new paradigm in education and figuring out where to fit in our own pipeline to help our students get into what it is that they want to do when they grow up. So, Sheila, you've built this amazing school. What advice, what kind of really tangible advice can you give to the folks sitting in the room for going back to their schools today, starting tomorrow, to think about how they can engage partners?
Sure, but I do want to correct you. It wasn't me, it was us.
It was, yes.
Yeah, you can't, there's no way that a school can be successful without a team philosophy.
It takes a village.
And having a vision and supporting that vision and making sure that people have a voice in the decision making. So for me as a principal, when a teacher is inspired to take it to the next level, it's always yes. We just have to figure out the way we're going to find the monies to support that initiative. And it's a matter of creating a team that is supportive in that regard and working with your community. There are people out there that want to partner with you. They just are waiting to be asked. So I go out to the Chamber of Commerce, I go to speak at events like this and elsewhere, because as you speak and you continue to share stories, people then share with you their best practices. You say, hey, if they can do it, we can. And Worcester Tech is full of those stories because of he can always learn from one another and then share best practices like we are today.
Yeah. So we're preparing students for jobs that don't even exist yet, Maura. How do we need to do that? What does the business community need K-12 education to really be doing and thinking and talking about today to prepare our kids for jobs that we haven't even thought about?
Some of that is true. And clearly, there are jobs we have not defined yet, but there's a lot of jobs that we have defined that are sitting there empty, vacant, 28 million jobs in the next 10 years in the middle skill space. And that's why this issue of preparing students for the world of work as well as the world of higher ed is important to so many companies. My own company has 1,200 openings in New York. And that's amazing. People think that, there's no way to join IBM. Well, there is a way to join IBM, but you have to be educated to a certain threshold, and in our case, that's an AAS degree. So there are jobs that we haven't really thought of yet, but we really need to look at, we have to be pragmatic here. We have to look to our centers of excellence, whether that's nationally at Georgetown, or in this state, probably Northeastern is the heavy in labor market statistics. We need to say how fast is healthcare growing, how many jobs are there going to be in healthcare and IT and advanced manufacturing and hospitality, how do they vary? The founders of the Pathways to Prosperity movement are Bob Schwartz out of Harvard and his wife at Jobs for the Future, Nancy Hoffman. They're the ones moving that forward across now 11 states. If you talk to them, the first thing they'll say is, make sure this whole career awareness, exposure to jobs, the ability to apply your academic learning is not just for other people's children. Because if it's for other people's children, it will be a nice experiment in education that dies in 5 years.
Exactly.
And when I think back on my own 2 children who went to wonderful colleges, my daughter came out and became an educator, and of that I'm very proud. And she was driven, she knew by her senior year that's what she wanted to do. My son was senior year, I wonder what, I'm a double major in economics and Spanish, and I'd like to make some money. I am positive, had he had exposure to more careers in medicine, he would have been a great doctor. I'm also positive he would have been a great teacher, but it's that kind of thing I'm talking about. And I know some of this, the walk before you run, exists already in the state. I don't know if anyone here is from Cambridge Rindge and Latin, but I've been told, and I'm going to learn more about it, that they actually offer a week of exposure to different courses. So 1 week you're looking at medicine, another week you're looking at welding, another week you're looking at whatever. And the kids become excited about a lot of things that they never would have been excited about. You know this as educators better than I do, but when they see the why they have to learn certain things, it all of a sudden becomes much more doable.
Can you tell us a little bit about what's happening here in Massachusetts? You alluded to that.
Sure. So Massachusetts is one of the 11 pathway states, and I'm very proud of that. And originally it was under Paul Rebel's leadership at the Department of, at the EOE, at the Executive Office of Education. It has moved over to DESE, to the Department of Elementary and Secondary, which is where it should be. And at its core, it is this 3-legged stool of K-12, working with community colleges and working with local industries. So there's lots of things cropping up every day that are very exciting. It started with three model programs, if you will. The first is in Boston in healthcare, and you alluded to it. It's Bunker Hill, Mass General, and some of the Boston Public Schools. There's one out in Western Mass with Springfield Technical Community College, West Springfield High, and the Advanced Manufacturing Association out there. There's one in the middle of the state in Framingham in IT. I know that Brockton High School is involved, Massasoit College is involved. I shouldn't say every day, every week new high schools and new community colleges are getting engaged. And so it's a terrific program to watch. I'm very pleased to be able to try and help promote it now that I'm on the board of higher ed. I have to be honest with it. I think we're behind some other states, most notably New York, and I know that because I work in New York as well. In New York, there are 30 of these 914 schools already, one in every economic development region, and they go across all the disciplines I've already talked about. There'll be 10 more opening next September through an RFP process. So they'll have 40 of these models. And they have a longer history of really facilitating early college high school than we did. That being said, Massachusetts is the most competitive state in the nation, and I am determined that we are going to run right past Governor Cuomo and Commissioner King, and so I hope you will join me in that quest.
Yeah. Well, ladies, thank you so much. I believe our time is up, and I want to thank everyone who is here. I hope every single one of you can take home with you at least one idea about how you can think about the career pathways in your schools. And that's all schools. We need to start this work at the elementary school level. And there are lots of really creative, interesting ways to do it. I love teaching financial literacy to really little kids because everybody's thinking about money, even little kids. They all have piggy banks. So let's start talking about all of these skills as early as we possibly can. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Sheila. Thank you, Maura. I am very happy that I was invited here today, and I thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of the conference.